I am Greg Cummings, CEO of Power100, and we're sitting down today with a legend in the industry, Dave Yoho, founder and CEO of Dave Yoho Associates. Now, we're sitting down with him because of his excellent track record, and he's obviously provided value to thousands of companies across the nation. But we're also sitting down with Dave to get a pulse on the industry of today, and also to hear firsthand who would benefit from attending the next event that they're putting on, the Houston Peak Profit Summit on April 30th to May 2nd. At that event, I will be on stage speaking with the number one ranked CEO in the country, James Freeman, as well as one of my advisory board members, Steve McNary. We'll be discussing how to create a culture of accountability. So, Dave, thank you so much for joining us on Power Chat and for all of your work that has paved the way for so many. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, and appreciation as well.
Before we get started, let me just share how we got here. Might be relevant. We're Power100. We're a national publishing company that focuses on the top 100 CEOs in the country, as well as the top 15 strategic partners. Here in July, we're going to be releasing the top 25 manufacturing partners. As well as in our hopper, we will be releasing the top events in the industry now that's not out yet, but based off of our proprietary ranking system and being the only 100% third-party platform, Yoho Associates and their show has scored very, very high. So that's why we're here. That's why we're attending, because our mission is to partner with the absolute best in the industry. This way we can help the top CEOs achieve more by helping more Americans across this great country. Dave, would you mind introducing yourself for the one person out there that maybe doesn't know who you are, and maybe a brief overview on the Peak Profit Summit that's going to be taking place in Houston?
All right. First name is David. I go by Dave. Middle initial A, which stands for Alan. Last name is the complexing one. 4 letters, Y-O-H-O. Dave Yoho. I go by Dave Yoho. My name is actually David. And this company that we're interacting with you today, this is Dave Yoho Associates, which is a division of a company called Surface Shield Institute, which was formed in 1963. And our interaction with this industry goes back to 12 years before this was formed. And our business today is working with companies, anywhere from manufacturers to retailers to the intermediates, people like Home Depot or Lowe's, and financial institutions who are interactive in financing, and even certain law groups. And the reason for all of that is so that we can acquire the knowledge and the understanding of the complexities of this industry better and serve the needs of the people within it by making them familiar with it. People often ask me, what kind of information do you utilize? Everything conceivable when you run a business. That's a manufacturing business, a distributor, or a retailer. But the key is the person. The key are the people. And so we fundamentally surround ourselves with that. We say we don't give accounting or legal advice, which we don't, but we give an opinion on almost everything. Other than that, I stand mute.
Well, that's awesome. Now, you mentioned a wide variety of people, specifically at the Houston event, Dave. If I'm a CEO of a company out there, who is the target audience that really should say, you know what, I'm going to get out and I'm going to go to this event. I'm going to take time away from my business, even though it might be difficult in the moment to step away from the business. But is there a specific demographic, whether it's revenue number, size of employees, like, is there anything in your mind that who needs to be at this event or who can get the most out of it, I should say?
Okay, we stress good management. Now, good management is, our biggest client does about $1,400,000,000 annually, retail. The gentleman who will be introducing the program down there is a man who owns 12 companies, 1,200, and this year will probably hit $700 million. On the other end, we have 13 account executives who interact with people We have small companies who want to grow bigger. Now, a small company could be anyone from a company that has few employees and maybe does less than $1 million. But the average small company will range anywhere from there up to 7, 8, or 9 million. And the complexity of all these companies relates to people. How do you find people to fill the roles that are necessary to complete the sale that you make? Now, the sale that you make has to come from a good marketing department and a good sales department. We'll cover that. We try to cover the things that people don't think about that may be occurring to them. There are changes in the modality, the systems, the methods that people are using for buying today. Now, not only are there more complexities in the buying, but, if I had one suggestion, stop listening to the news. It'll scare the hell out of you. And most of it may or may not be true. But you can apply it to yourself, and the minute you do, you may get discouraged. If you have difficulty hiring people, giving them more money is not the answer. If you have difficulty attracting people, just putting an ad or putting a posting somewhere is not the answer. If you have a lead base where you distribute it to salespeople, but the lead base has to be managed by a marketing department who intakes the lead inquiry, and then converts it to a set appointment for the people. All these things are complexities, and most of them resolve around people. Let me say one other thing. I love this industry. I've worked in a lot of industries besides this industry in the series of what I do. We represent major corporations, like we had a contract with GE for 13 years. On the other end of the flip, we operate with some smaller companies who have grown to larger companies. The indicia always is, what are you, anyone listening to this, what are you willing to give up to become as good as you have a potential to be? And I don't mean that as some sort of a quip. Information is costly. I don't care how you look at it. Why? The first investment you have to make is your time. And for someone to come to one of our programs, they say, well, I don't have the time. I'm so busy. We understand. We don't beg you, beat you over a stick, or give you a free airline ticket. But the truth is that the people who make it, the people who cut it, the people who can face all of the distractions and all the challenges of this industry, they've got to invest the time to know what is going on. And a lot of bad stuff is going on in what should be a good environment for this business.
Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head there. If you are a CEO or a leader out there that says, maybe I don't have time for this, I don't have time to go, that might be a really good indicator that it is time for you to go and check out one of these events. Because if your business is so dependent on you being there and being present, then that's all the more reason to go attend one of these events, in particular the Houston event, and learn and be around people that have both been where you were, where you are, and also where you want to be. Dave,
Let me comment on what you just said. You
yeah.
said something that I'd like to have stashed in their heads, right?
Okay.
When you go to the program, you have to listen with 2 ears and 1 mouth. Many people in our industry listen with 1 ear and 2 mouths. Now, I don't mean that to be disrespectful. The average small businessman is that. He's an entrepreneur. He's a businessman only in the essence that he is in a business. But when you face all the complexities, there may be 10 or 12 different things that you have to do every year, some month on month, some week to week, some day on day, that you have to understand the complexity of these things and not curse them and say, well, how does this and why do they have the right to do that? New piece of legislation. It's really a regulation attached to an old piece of legislation came out. We had 663 companies online to tell them about this. It has to do with the way a lead is taken and what you can or cannot do with that customer's phone number and that customer's identification with that number. Everybody sitting here has had the complexity, big time complexity of trying to get people on the phone. And every one of you have had the same experience of getting spam calls. Now, how do you differ what you are going to say or would like to say with the spam caller. Both people think they're legitimate. And the truth is, you're only legitimate to the degree that you can approach a customer, get him to open his eyes and his ears, retain, and when you give him instructions like write down the number and here's how, and give us permission, and we'll call you and set up an appointment. But you have to have certain verbiage in there to comply with this new regulation. And you get a lead at a home show, or you get a lead from a lead aggregator where there's abundance of leads, and you and four other people get the lead, you have some complexities to face. That's what we try to do, help you face them by understanding the groundwork. Now, why do I say, again, it's expensive? No, going to our program is not expensive because we have 25 or 30 sponsors, and those sponsors are really paying for, when we rent a big studio and we bring in AV people and we feed you lunch, breakfast, or whatever, that all costs big time money. But we have sponsors who pay for that. But you got to get your butt there. You got to get on a plane from where you live to where you're coming here or driving. And then you have to give up 2 days or 2.5 days to get everything you need. That's where the complexity is, because entrepreneurs don't see that. And I live in a world which says you cannot know what you do not know. And you will not know what you do not know until you can say in your heart, mind, and body, I do not know. And then if someone tells you about how they're doing it, and as you begin to know, it is still worthless until you go out and do it. And doing it is complex as well, your investment per se. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did, and I enjoyed it. You kind of segued into a little bit, and then you got out of it a little bit. But my next question has to do with the cost and efficiencies around lead generation. We are seeing a trend where people are very nervous, and this, by the way, will be a major topic at the show in Houston. So if this kind of triggers any thoughts, it might be a good reason to go and attend as well. But I haven't talked to a CEO or an executive within this industry that isn't a little bit nervous about leads this year. They're harder to come by. They're maybe the quality of them maybe aren't there as well. You got to be so much more efficient with what you have, or figure out another way to get leads, because these issued leads, they're on the rise. The price is really on the rise, going up, because they understand that they have the power, right? Leads are everything in this business. Can you share your insights from all of your experience in this industry? You've probably seen moments like this before. What is the real driving factor of the cost of these leads today? And what should companies expect here the rest of this year and maybe into the next year?
Well, I have to go back and say, how do you see, anyone listening, how do you see a lead? Then the people who work for you, who get those leads, the salespeople, they're in the next level. How do they see a lead, and what do they want a lead to be? And some of the rationale is impossible. If you ask a salesperson, what's wrong right now? Tell us how we can do more to help you sell more. You'll say 2 things. Well, first of all, we need better leads. And secondly, we got to lower our prices, because that's fundamentally
Every
the
time.
way people think. That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
So let me say that there are all kinds of leads. The lead that you like is the one who come up and says, my brother-in-law had work done on his property, you people did, and he speaks the world over. Yeah, come out and look at my work and tell me what we have to do to get this work put on our house. Ideal. Well, you don't get many that shout like that. Now you get some that are similar that say, well, I'm not sure, I don't know. I saw your ad on television, or I saw your ad at a home show, or a fair, or a direct mail, whatever that might be. And that is a more nebulous, that's a less definite lead. And it requires getting that lead and converting it to an appointment. Now, appointment should be with the people who own the home for a specific time, allowing sufficient time to present your product or service, cultivated with giving them an accurate proposal on what their investment might be. And that all comes after you have convinced them that their contact with you, your contact with them is important, and you build something that is called rapport. Now, I'm going to come back to this, but rapport starts with the first indicator. How did the people get in touch with you? Did they see your job somewhere? Did they see you at a home show? Did they see your truck someplace? Did they hear about you through whatever source? And you get them on the phone. Your phone is answered wrong. 90% of the time, your phone is answered wrong. And the person taking the phone doesn't understand that their job is to build rapport, make those people feel happy. If your phone is answered by some sort of a robot which says, if you're interested in a customer recipient, press 1. If you're interested in it, press 2. If you want to talk to the teacher, press 3. I'm being disrespectful, I know, but that person needs to be retrained. The person that's calling in is valuable. They're giving you their time, their interest, and saying, help me. Now, they don't say it that way. They say, all we want is a price. Well, we don't want a lot of all this stuff.
Right.
And all we want is a price. Now, anybody who's been in the business for a while will tell you they're having trouble converting those leads to a good lead, what they say, a good lead, where both parties will be there. That's because they're using the wrong language and they're telling someone how to think. That won't work. So there's a French expression, raison d'être, and raison d'être is the reason to be. This person has called you. Your reason to be is to make them feel rewarded for calling you. So instead of saying, XYZ Construction Company, how may I help you? We say, thank you for calling XYZ Construction. How may I direct your call? Now take those words. They come out of something called neuro-linguistic programming. That's putting you in power before me. When we ask the question, so how long have you been thinking about this project? When did you buy your home? What have you had done on your home before? What prompted you to call us? I'm going to give you 5, 7, 9, 10 questions. You'll hear them in our program that make the people want to have someone like you come to their home. And when you come to the home, you should have a lead, and the salesperson who gets the lead should be given the lead with no power in his mind to call those people in advance. No power. Why is that? Because he wants too much out of this. He wants to know if this is a good lead. He wants to know if it's a bad lead. And how does he judge a good or a bad lead? By some things that people say. We're not going to buy anything right now. We're just interested in getting prices. That's not a good lead. My brother-in-law had the work done for him. That's a good lead. They're all good leads. The difference between a good and a bad lead is the way it's handled. And most people don't take the lead incorrectly. And the person who builds the lead doesn't go beyond what they already know. Be nice, be humble, be sweet, be nice, and the people will like you. Not true. You have to be saying things from a script that encourage, and it's not that hard to do. And when the salesperson gets to the house, he has to follow the script. And so we teach a concept called customer satisfaction selling. I'll repeat it. Customer satisfaction selling. It is taught by the way of what we call step selling. What are the steps? First step is taking in the lead, so forth and so on. The last part of the step is getting the order. This is called step selling. Many people will tell you we do step selling. Well, I'd like to know what you do. What are the steps, and how are these all important to the customer? I am trying to think now. I introduced step selling in this industry in 1962, and I didn't invent it. I saw it first at National Cash Register, the way, and at one time they were the top business sales organization. And I was doing a speech in Dayton, Ohio, and they took me to their sales training center. And the president of that company said something that has been emblazoned in my memory. And by the way, anything you hear, the listener, the viewer, write it down, because ideas flit in and out of your consciousness. Write it down and then repeat it and look at it again next week, next month. And when you're going to build on it, go to the dictionary, go to some book to find out what some of the words mean that you're not familiar with. But here's what that president said. People don't buy cash registers. They buy what cash registers will do for them. Now, I want you to think about this. There has never been an industry like ours. $350 billion a year. Who knows where the figures all come from? We see all the surveys. We also take hundreds of surveys every year to see what's happening in the various marketplaces. But we say this is a big industry. But most of the time, we don't act like big companies. We don't do things in a big company fashion. Do it in a big company fashion, but all the way in between and down to the bottom, be highly customer oriented, think like they think. So now you get to the lead. And that lead, based on where it comes from, our most recent survey, could cost you as low as we use fully loaded lead cost. That means anything in your business which contributes to the cost. You might have a showroom, you might paint your trucks, you may put up job signs, you may have a calling system, you may have whatever it is that you have, that is a marketing cost. And you get a certain cost that comes with the intaking of the lead. You had to spend so much just to get the lead to that point. Now, that's important to designate how much did each of these leads cost based on your total marketing cost. Some marketing programs are better than others, and you go to one home show and you do great, and you go to another one, you do lousy, but they all are expensed the same. So you get the cost of an incoming lead. Now, how many of them can you issue? Do you have a script that intelligently says things to people who want to have you in their house? Well, the second point is how many can we issue? And then of the issued, how many do we get in the house to make a total presentation? And then when we make the total presentation, how many of them do we close? So we analyzed the cost of an intake lead, the cost of an issued lead, the cost of a sit lead when we can actually make a presentation, and the cost of the lead when the deal is sold. But it is complex. The cost in our last survey are from low as $250 per lead, raw lead. All the way, and I beg your pardon, that's issued lead, all the way up to over $1,000. Not unusual today, anywhere from $500 to $900 for an issued lead. If you got 6 salesmen working for you and you got a $500 lead, right now, if you gave them all one, that's $3,000.
Yeah.
Now, if you do that 6 times a week, that's $18,000. And if you do that, you see how these numbers come out?
Where do you think the lead price is going to go at the end of this year and into next year? Do you think it's going to go up a lot, or do you think it's going to kind of stay the same? And how should companies absorb that cost? Should they just raise their prices?
Well, yeah, that's the one way, but you have to have a price that's commensurate to the value. So just remember that. And I don't want to shirk you from changing your prices. I will tell you that most people don't analyze their lead costs well enough. So
Okay.
if the lead cost goes up, if you're working with a lead aggregator, the price is different than if you're buying television commercials. But you have to separate those costs. And everybody in the business, I don't care if you're a small company or big company, should have a CRM. Now, you're familiar, Greg, with a CRM, are you not?
Of course.
It's
Yeah.
something which takes in every lead and does it. It's software. Great people. They're one of our sponsors. And I'm not doing this for them. I'm doing it for you. You have to know where these leads came from. Then you have to see the people in your organization who handle leads better than another. So it's not uncommon. We have organizations where we go in, and let's say they're in the window business, and the salespeople are good. But those salespeople sell $900,000 worth of windows a year, maybe $1 million, and it all sounds great. Now tell me, what did it cost you to keep the salespeople in there to do that? So we have clients who, when they hire salespeople, have to tell them, this is the number of leads you get, and for the number of leads you get, this is what we expect you to do. And some of the people we represent, you can't work there if you don't bring in $1.5 million to $2 million a year. Because the top guys in those organizations, men or women, bring in bring in $3 million or $4 million. Not uncommon. So just raising the prices, though, Greg, is a little bit scary
It
because
is.
again, you're going to turn this over to a salesperson who has to show these people in their home what the value is of the product. And one other thing, here's where it's complex. You go out and you buy a table, a chair, buy an automobile, a suit of clothes, hat, whatever that might be. All these things you see in a finished state. We don't see ours in a finished state. If you're selling most home improvement products, you're converting what they have to what they would like to do to upgrade, or you're putting something in or attached to their home that is adjunct to what is already there, and may change the architecture for whatever instance. Now, when you say all of that, what you have to do as a sales oriented company is teach your people a structured presentation. And you can use support material like your computer for graphics or whatnot. But you have to teach your people how to give powerful, powerful presentations. I narrow it down to this. If you want to sell a $10,000 job, learn how to give a $12,000 presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that isn't saying charge them 12. That's not what I'm saying. If you want to sell a quality product at a price which enables you to make a profit, you have to give a better presentation, because everyone who's going in that house now is going to tell those people something about why theirs is better.
Yeah.
Why is it so? That's what
And
you think.
it's great that you brought that up, because when I had when I was in the window business in the day to day, I would tell my people that you need to sell every job like it's double the price. So if you have a $30,000 job, you in your mind, as you go through that presentation, pretend it's 60,000, and that you believe that the value that we provide is even worth that 60,000, which is double. You don't close it at that, but that's how you approach the meeting. That's how you approach the rapport. It's how you approach the solution and what the new windows and doors are going to be able to do for them. Provide double the value in order to close them at the right price that allows you to have sustainable business in the future. Meaning you're going to get, good quality referrals out of it. People aren't going to feel like you took advantage of them, but yet you also made a good enough profit that you can continue to do the things that you want to do as far as expand your business and be profitable. So my question, speaking of profitability, my next one to you, Dave, what should these guys and gals out there that are leading these companies that, they're making money right now? Maybe there's a little dip in business, here and there, but anyone that's been in business for any amount of time has been through that. Do you think that people should be investing hard in marketing right now, or should they be kind of holding their cash, and being a little bit more reserved as we approach the election and the months following?
Now, Greg, you've been a very nice host so far, but the question you just asked me is really 5 or 6 questions
I
about
understand.
what.
Take it any direction you want, Dave.
All right. Well, first of all, you have to assess profitability, and we find out most prices are structured inadequately. I don't mean you should be higher or lower. I mean, you cannot define for me based on accounting principles. If you go and set up your business, a good attorney, a good accountant will say, look, set up an LLC, limited liability company trading as a corporation, or set up an S corporation. Stay away from C corporations. But now, if you say that and you say, well, that's good advice, what's next? Well, do cash accounting, because it's the easiest, it's the simplest way to do it. And I'm going to, in my answer here, I'm going to show you 4 reasons why that may not be the truth. Now, first of all, you have to start out with a formula for pricing, because people go in the house and they make all sorts of commitments to do extras and whatnot. Here was the price, and you start to commit to other things. And the salesperson selling it thinks that even though he committed those things, he should get the same commission. And going back to compensation systems, then where you say to somebody, okay, here's how you're going to get paid. We take the cost of the job and apply it by the cost of doing the job, and whatever that margin is, we'll give you a percentage of that. Now, don't ask your salespeople to think. Don't ask them to think that way. Don't ask them to be arithmetic geniuses. Instead, give them a price list. And it isn't problematical to do, it's done with a formula. So now, once you establish the formula, you also establish a budget for marketing. Now, it's not uncommon today that that people they pay 10% commission and they have 18% marketing costs. That wasn't the way it was years ago, but because they have good margins and they want to reach a broader market, they do a lot of things which say, well, if the job comes out right and we sell it right, we got enough money to do this again. That's not the way it works either. So what has to happen? You have to take a look at every one of the marketing programs you have and do an analytic on it. And that's why you have a CRM. It can show you this. And I'm not saying it does the job for you. It helps you do the job you're supposed to do. Now you find out every one of these things. So I bought lead aggregation. Let's say there's some great companies out there. Some of them are our sponsors. And so you get that through a lead aggregator. But know in advance that many cases, that same lead is sold to three or four other people. Some complexities in that. Some relate to the legislation I talked about earlier, and some are related to the fact that you may go in the highest, the lowest, the middle, or whatever it is, based on your competition for that same lead. Now, other leads are what we call nebulous leads. We can give you this or we can do that. Take as an example, when a job is completed, we have peripheral marketing to talk to the people around that job, to talk to people in that neighborhood through direct mail. We can do it that way. Now, all these leads have a cost. Now you assess the cost based on how many of these can I convert to the appointments and how many of these can we get in the home. And getting in and out of the home may not be a sales issue, a marketing issue as much as a sales issue. But when you determine that, you don't need to cut back. You need to operate more efficiently and know what each lead source. Now, if you're doing $1.5 million, you're not going to run into this complex. The minute you start to do 3, 5, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, $20 million, you've got to break. You're in big boy pants now. You better be having big boy actions so that you spend. Yes, we are getting fewer leads, and I'm going to say we do anywhere from 20 to 30 reviews every year, research what people are paying for leads and all the sources now. And that's one of the things we discuss at this program. So some companies just handle the lead better than others. Some salespeople handle the lead better than others. And some people have a product that is more appealing than the other because the salesperson presented it that way. So much depends. We have clients. We have some clients whose the average ticket, the average contract, is over 40,000. We have one whose the average ticket is 48,000, but they sell 60, 65, 75, $80,000 jobs. Now, that doesn't mean you got $80,000 job or a $60,000. You got a lot of money because the margins may not be the same as you were in the window business. The ideal job is 8 windows, bang, bang, in and out. The day you put them in is the day you get your money, if you finance it or the final payment. And much depends on the way you carry on your accounting, your bookkeeping. So suppose we don't sell the lead. Well, in today's world, you better have a way to follow up, but that's made complex by this new regulation. But let's say, for 90 days, you can still utilize the lead and go back and see them, call them again. And that is called rehashing or setting a second visit lead. A lot of complexities to that, but there's a way to do it. And you'll hear some of that at I don't want to make this, if you don't go to the program, you won't get that. But you'll get it better there because you'll meet the guys who do it and do it
Well,
well.
it's not only that do you meet the guys that do it right or have success doing something. Dave, I really believe that the most valuable thing that, I got, or that other people that I've talked to, other leaders across this country, the biggest thing that they get, there's a lot of reasons to attend, right? You get legal updates on what's coming down the pipeline. You get sales, what's hot, what's not, trends, what's going on in the lead world, what we need to do, what other people are expecting, how much are they paying per lead. Operational stuff is out there as well, efficiencies. But at the end of the day, I think, and you said it earlier, it's all about the people. I really believe the best reason to go to this event, and I do kind of want to make it about why to go to this event, because we have researched a lot of other events out there, and other events are not the same thing. They have a true agenda, where your event is about, okay, come out to this event, meet other people that are in your shoes, establish meaningful relationships with them that go past the couple days that you're there. And if you have certain gaps in your business, maybe you knew about going into it, or maybe you didn't know going into the show or the event. Now you have an opportunity to really lock down and identify with other folks that are in your shoes, CEOs, but also, you have some of the best sponsors and partners that are out there that are modern tools that make efficiencies actually happen, that help you onboard, that help you take this idea and this willingness to do this. This way, when you go back into your business, you're actually able to implement that because you have help from the sponsors, partners, or from somebody on your team. And I think that it's a really a fun event where it's laid back but very purposeful. And I think that the number one reason, like I said, to attend is just to kind of take a step out of your business, think about it, meet other folks that are similar to you, to let you know you're not in this kind of thing alone, and other people are going through the ebbs and flows just as you are. Do you have anything to add to that on kind of what you think is the best part about going to, in particular, your show?
Well, to do that, I have to go back into my personal history. Uh, Prior to starting this business in 1963, I came out of I came out of the service, and I hadn't completed high school. I got a GED to get my high school diploma, and did my undergraduate studies at Temple University in Philadelphia, and I got my undergraduate degree in business. And then since then, I have educational points in the studying of human behavior, behavioral psychology. But what made me successful was the system. When I sold my company in 1974, I sold my company a long time ago, almost 50 years. When I sold that company, we were doing $60 million a year. No company in the industry retail came anywhere near that. We were the largest home improvement company in the United States. I had 147 salespeople, and we did, as I say, 60 million plus in a given year. That's the foundation. That's not what we teach today. We teach a more modern aspect of it. But the whole foundation is experiential. And I'm often asked to appear on platforms with a lot of other speakers, and sometimes I go and sometimes I won't. And if I have to sit in the audience and listen to some guy say, well, we sell 75% of all the leads we get in, you know, he ain't going to get to heaven talking like that. And he's not going to get much believability by anybody who knows anything about the business. But if you say fundamentally, here's a plan, and the plan has to be one you as an individual can work with.
Yeah.
Now, I have a great deal of admiration for the people in this business. I'm not condemning them. What I'm saying is not criticizing you. I'm criticizing the industry for not have done more to enable us to fit with all of these changes that are going on. And some of that's not true. And we get people in there who give you all sorts of flamboyant stuff. We'll tell you the importance of getting involved with artificial intelligence and all the issues. We have great clients. Engage is one of our clients as an example, and Real is one of our clients. So we see this in the perspective of those options for you. But they're not going to do the job for you. They'll help you to do the job when you understand it. Now, wrap it up this way. I get asked all kinds of things. And I did a one on conserving profitability investing. I just did that about 90 days ago. And on the air, the guy said, "So what do you think of Bitcoin?" And I said, "I don't even know it. I don't understand it. And I don't invest anything I can't see and touch. I'm not a gambler. I love football, but I don't bet on the Super Bowl. I have opinions and theories that are based on fundamental truths. So I'm saying to you, don't assume anything. Assume only that you have the capability. It takes your ingenuity to the point that you go to these meetings and you go to a seminar and you interact with the people, you ask questions, you visit these various providers because there's people in there that do things that you never even thought were available
Yeah.
to you, and then fundamentally set a plan to do those things." So I don't want to give you a brief answer to a complex question, but that's as good as I can make it within the confines of what we're doing here today.
Dave, I have one final question for you.
Sure.
What is the earliest lesson that you learned that you have carried with you throughout your entire life and still use today?
You cannot know what you do not know. I am a bug on education. I'm a heavy reader. I have a very wide vocabulary, but I also have an interest in the fundamentals of business. And we take complex business accounting systems. We don't get into accounting GAAP, but we'll show everybody how to use a simplified intermittent statements, the ones that you get every month. We'll show them how to do that. People aren't willing to invest in knowing what they have to know. And so you'll meet, and you don't have to have a college education. You'll hear the guy kicking off the program. He's got an MBA from Harvard. And I'll have a guy sitting right in this audience. And one of the guys that worked for me in the same thing, who just sold their companies for over $20 million, and they don't even have a high school education. But
Yeah.
fundamentally, they are educated to understand the way the customer feels, the customer thinks, and what society will gauge them or call them as they perform their task. And that's a whole lot to ask of people. But there are people growing their business right now are going to become superpowers.
You got to make the choice to do it, right? And to be a student and always be a student. Dave, that is about, I want to be aware of our time. I appreciate you joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure to connect with you. I look forward to spending a little bit more time with you in Houston as well. And thank you again for joining us on Power Chat.
Okay. And I say to every listener, come to Houston. I'll be there. My son, Brad, runs the show, but I'll be there participating in the program. And I never have a loss for words.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Again, I'm Greg Cummings, CEO of Power100. I want to thank you for joining us. I will have some links in the description below. This way you can get to all the details of the Houston event, the Peak Profit Summit. And hopefully we'll see you there. And as always, power up.